I'd like to introduce Coach Mickey Marotti. Unless you've had your head under a rock for a long time, you don't know who he is, but I'm just going to say a few brief things about him, and then I'm going to give him all the time he needs. Coach Marotti is in his third season as the Assistant Athletic Director for Football Sports Performance at Ohio State University, and his 28th season as a strength and conditioning coach. Coach Marotti's been at Cincinnati, Notre Dame, Florida, and Ohio State. During his time at Florida, they won 2 national championships, 2 SEC championships, and they had three 13-win seasons. Last but most importantly, Coach Marotti is married to Susan, has a son Mitchell, and his daughter Maddie. I've known Mick for a long time as a colleague and a competitor, and it doesn't get any better than Coach Marotti. So let's all welcome Coach Marotti.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it. Everybody can hear me? Good. Very excited, and it's an honor and privilege to speak up in front of you today. I want to thank Chuck and Becky Stiggins for making this thing what it is today. I just told Chuck before the business meeting, I was here at the first clinic. I think there was the first conference, there was 124 people, and it was over in the Marriott. 124. Now there's, 1,500. So this thing has really grown, and all the thanks can go to Chuck and Becky as well as the board of directors that have been around. Very excited about the future, and today I want to talk to you a little bit off the cuff of what I usually present or talk to folks about, but a little bit about leadership and motivation, and hopefully you could take something back to your program. As you listen to the presentation, and as you maybe get 1 or 2 things out of it, look at it as 2 things. Look at it as how you would develop your team when you go back to school and you go back to work, and also as a leader, as a person in charge or director of your program, how you lead and how you motivate and how you team build, not just the team that you're training or the sport, but also your staff. And I want to take this time to thank any assistant or any coworkers that have worked with me in the last whatever years. Appreciate your hard work and your dedication, your loyalty, and your great friendship. I think these conferences are great to network and really get back in touch with those people in the past. So I recommend that some of the younger strength coaches out there, as you go through your career, don't forget the people that got you to where you're at. Don't forget that, and that's very important. First, I want to introduce my staff. You're only as good as the people that work with you. Not for you, but with you, because you're all working for that common goal. First is Kenny Parker. Kenny right here. Kenny played at University of Florida, was a strength coach at Murray State, as well as a position coach. Anthony Schlegel played at Ohio State, played in the NFL for a little bit. Jeff Heulenake. Jeff played in the NFL, was a college coach and a professional coach. And Phil Matus, who joined our staff here in the winter. Phil was a head strength coach at Villanova. I'll stand up here today and say I think I got the best staff in America, but as a director, as a person in charge, as a leader, that's what I hope you say that. I hope you could say that. So couldn't do what we can do without those guys. The presentation that's in your packet is a little bit different than the presentation that I'm going to put up here on a PowerPoint. I do it for 2 reasons. Number 1, because it changed a little bit. Number 2, to hope for you'll pay a little bit more attention. So I always start a talk with this phrase: you get what you emphasize, or you get what you coach. Consequently, you get what you tolerate, or you get what you don't coach. Okay? So, as you're formulating your program, if you're a young strength coach, of what you want to be about, or who you want to be, or what things you're going to do, or whether you're going to be this type of program, or that type of program, just remember this. What you emphasize is what you'll get. And if you don't get those results that you want because they weren't emphasized, then make sure there's no confusion, because there was a mistake on however you formulated your program. If you ask for accountability or demand accountability within your program on a day-to-day basis, you live it every day, every set, every rep, every run, everything you do. If you demand those things and you emphasize it and you coach it and you coach the living crap out of it, guess what's going to happen? You're going to get those results you're looking for. But if you tolerate some things and you let some things happen in your program or on your staff, Don't be surprised at the end of the day, you're not getting what you hope to get. So whatever you want, you got to coach. And you got to coach the living crap out of it from a day-to-day basis. Every hour, every minute, every second. And you'll get those results. But for whatever reason, you don't coach what you're looking for or you don't emphasize those things, then you're not going to get it. Okay? The objectives of this presentation and what we kind of want to talk about is the what of a strength coach. The written what versus the unwritten what of a strength coach. Leadership, the what, the who. Taking others with you. We'll talk a little bit more about that. The thing that I'm really kind of into right now in my career, in my life, is the who, the clientele, the plan, the Generation IY. Generation IY. The culture, the what, the why, the how, the performance pathway. Really good stuff. And last is the motivation, the how. E plus R equals O, and I'll explain a little bit about that through the presentation. Okay, the strength coach. There's Coach Slagle, pretty intense right there, coaching up one of the guys. Everyone has this in their human resource job description, right? You've all heard it. I'm going to read it to you. You all heard it? Some of you probably made it up for your departments. Designs, implements, and conducts sports-specific strength, conditioning, speed programs that facilitate maximum benefits for all student athletes. Collaborates with coaches, trainers, and staff on overall conditioning, rehab, and welfare of the student athlete, right? We've all seen this. This is what we are supposed to do per human resource, right? Or that little job description thing that you get every year when you're getting the evaluations from your supervisor. This is it, right? This is what we're supposed to do. You look at a manual of a strength coach. Here's our job description, right? Okay. To me, this is the unwritten what. This is not on your job description. No one puts this on your job description. The latter was what we're supposed to do. This right here is what I feel we need to do as a strength and conditioning coach, as a professional, as a cultivator of young people. Number one, mentor. Whether you like it or not. Whether you like it or not, you got to mentor those young athletes. 17, 18, 19-year-old children, kids, have no idea. They don't know they don't know. They think they know, but they don't know they don't know. You got to be a mentor. Got to be a motivator. Got to be a motivator. Young strength coaches out there, you got to find your niche. You got to find who you are and what you're all about, and you're trying to basically get people to do things that deep down they really don't want to do, right? Right? I mean, we're dentists, we're trying to pull teeth every day. You got to cultivate leadership, and that's what I'm going to talk about today. That's your job. It's not just to design the great program or design the great conditioning speed program. That's part of it, but you're going to spend more time on this. You want to be successful or have a successful program, this is the things you got to spend your time on. You got to be an educator. You got to teach. You have to teach. You got to be a facilitator. You got to be a scheduler. You got to be a solver, right? How many guys out there solving problems all the time, every day? That's your job. Proxy psychologist, right? That's what we do. Again, we're trying to get people to do things deep down they really don't want to do. You got your 10-80-10. You got your 10% of your team, your sport, that are highly self-motivated, right? And I know it varies from program to program, sport to sport. 10% self-motivated. You really don't need. As our head coach says, Donald Duck can coach those guys, right? So I guess you could call me Donnie when we leave here, Donald Duck. You got those 80%, kind of the masses. Those are the ones that kind of need it. They need the cultivation. They need direction. They need motivation, right? They need inspiration. And then you got those 10%. Those 10%, we call them the disinterested, right? The disinterested, the ones that deep down really don't care. Spend your time with those 80 and try to get those 80 up into that 10%. Turn that 10% into 20. Turn that 20% into 30. Don't worry about those 10%, right? We've all drove home after work, ready to ram someone off the road because of the 10%, right? When you go home to your wives or your husbands or whoever, and you're pissed off for the day, it wasn't because of the 80%, right? It wasn't because of the upper 10%. It was because of the bottom 10. You just want to take your fist and drive it through their skull. So again, this is a message to young strength coaches. Find some way to release energy, to release stress in your life. Play golf, swim, bike, triathlon, play the drums like I do. Do something, right? Do something. Leadership, someone going somewhere and taking others with them. That's the definition that I believe it is. Right? Someone going somewhere and taking others with them. So as you're kind of in your mind right now, you're trying to develop leadership. There's good leaders and bad leaders, right? Our generation today, this generation IY, believes that just because someone made the winning touchdown catch or the last shot, the three-point shot, or the last goal, that they're great leaders. Oh, they led us down the field. It was awesome. Not necessarily the definition what I believe leadership is. It's not just the guy that makes the great play or the gal that makes the great play or the great player in the team, because you know as well as I do, they're not necessarily the best leaders. Okay? Leadership, it's an easy word. We all use it, but it's a complicated dynamic. There's a lot of things that go into this. If you're a player on a team and you're teaching leadership to your athletes, as you're going through this, in their minds, you know, who's qualified to do this? Am I qualified? Well, I don't know. I'm the second string outside linebacker. I'm a walk-on. I work hard. I get straight A's. I do everything right. Am I qualified? Can I get up and bring someone with me? Yeah, they can. How do you do it? How do you lead? How do you lead? How do you lead as an athlete on a team? How do you lead as a coach? How do you lead as a director of strength and conditioning for your school? Do I want to? As an athlete, do I want to? They're all asking. I don't want to do that. I'm selfish. I'm self-absorbed. Most of your great players on your team are self-absorbed. They're trying to be the best that they can be. Right? The best that they can be. We had an athlete at The Ohio State a couple years ago. Great person. Everybody in this room would love to train him. You all have those in your programs. Well, he'd come in on Saturday. Saturday was his accessory day. And he'd do all kind of stuff. And on Saturdays, we kind of let him do it in the off season, kind of come in and do whatever they see fit and have some fun and, you know, put some fun music on or whatever. Well, he's like, Coach, is there any way I can get in at 7? Because we started this at 8. Is there any way I can get in at 7? No problem, John. And this went on for a couple weeks. John's playing for the Baltimore Ravens right now. Great player. 2-star that ended up a 5-star. All-American, the whole deal. It's about 3-4 weeks, and I'm thinking to myself, boy, John Simon really right now doesn't care about anything but his accessories. So I said, hey, Big John, come here. You're done. Don't ever come back on Saturday in the weight room unless you bring somebody with you. Bring what I call a study buddy. And he didn't get it at first, but after a while, all of a sudden at the end of that off season or whatever it was, the end of the month, there was 15 guys that he was bringing with him. So we had to cultivate leadership. And you all have those guys out there. Sometimes those great players aren't necessarily selfish, but self-absorbed. I mean, they'll help if somebody's ready, want to work out with them or want to train with them, but they're not waiting for them. They're not grabbing their hand and pulling them with them. If they could keep up, great. If they can't, TS, right? On the field, leadership on the field, leadership off the field. Okay, it's a well-rounded component. Leadership must be heard, seen, and felt. Heard, seen, and felt. As you're teaching leadership, if that is one of your job descriptions that you partake in, they've got to be heard, seen, and felt, or it's really not leadership. Sometimes that third-string fullback, that walk-on kid that everybody loves, right? They just feel like they don't have the clout or the status to be heard. Well, you got to teach them. You have to teach them. Leadership can be formal. The designated leaders, you're the captain of the bowling team, you're the captain. You're the general, you're this, you're that. The formal leader. The guy with the title is a leader. You're a leader, right? You're a formal leader. You're the strength coach, the head strength coach, assistant strength coach, speed coach, director of sports performance. Whatever your title is, you're the formal leader. You have that title. You have the status. But in your locker rooms, you have those informal guys, the guys that don't have the titles. They're not the seniors. It might be a sophomore or someone on your staff maybe doesn't have the assistant director title. but you see as a director, this person has potential to be a great leader. And this just isn't with your sport teams. This is in your life, with your children, with your family, with business. Okay? Leadership qualities. These are what I believe the great leaders need to have. Integrity. Do what you say what you do. Don't live in a world of BS. Because our young people right now live in that world of BS. Okay? BS. Have humility. Be humble. Character, respect, all these words. Work ethic, influence. Leaders have influence. The good leaders, the bad leaders. The locker room lawyers, right? You might got done with a hard workout, a hard practice. You walk through the locker room, there's that little small group over there complaining and bitching about whatever they just got done doing. Are they leaders? Yeah, they're leaders. They're leading that pack, right? They're leading that pack. The clientele, the who. Who are we talking about? And this is kind of my gig right now. Generation IY. The small case I stands for the iPhone, the iPad, the iPod, right? This. That's what that stands for. Generation Y. Is anybody born after 1990, 1992? So right now, that's our group. That's the 17 to 22, 23-year-olds. I'm a Generation X, the beginning of the Generation X when I was born. You got the baby boomer generation, okay? There's qualities in each of these generations. The culture of the world when they were born, when they're growing up, what they learn. This generation that we're dealing with right now, they feel special and needed. That's what they feel. They feel special and needed. On the other hand, they're spoiled, conceited, and entitled, right? They think someone owes them something, right? We've all had it. We see it. They love community. They want to do what the masses do. On the other hand, they won't act outside their clique, their status. We all know in this room, when you get a group of guys or a group of gals in the team, that sometimes that dynamic of that workout doesn't work as well as you want it to, right? Because everybody, it's kind of like, well, I'm not going to do that. That's not the cool thing to do. But when you get that athlete, when you get that athlete one-on-one or a small group, they give you everything they got, right? But when you get them in that big group, you don't get that sometimes, because they don't want to act outside their little clique. Because sometimes the strength coaches, the position coach, the head coach are bad guys. You young strength coaches, as you go through your career, you're not in this business to make any friends of your players. You don't need any friends. Your friends are right here in this room. You're their coach. And sometimes they got to hear that hard or get that hard lesson from you. That's what leadership is. It's not buddy-buddy stuff. It's not trying to get on the good side of an athlete. You work them hard. You respect them. You're real. You love them for whatever they are and who they are, and push them and show them the good things about what's going on and teach them what it is to work. These kids nowadays, they don't have to work. They don't work. They don't. I don't know where they get their money, but they don't work. Back when I was a kid, you worked. You worked in the summer, and it was hot, and you did hard things, and you learned hard work. You learned work ethic. You learned work toughness. These kids nowadays don't have that. And I'm talking as a mass. They do desire to be the best. They desire to be the best. Guess what? They get depressed if they aren't. As you look at our profession right now, 10 years ago or 15 years ago, it was the speed coach was the big thing. Then it turned into the functional movement guy and all this stuff, right? Then you had your nutritionist run of 5 to 7 years, right, Yox? Now all of a sudden, if you don't have them in your program, you better get one. It's the sports psychologist. It's the anxiety coach, right? It's the pleaser coach at the Ohio State. Again, every program's different. Different areas of the country, different expectations. At our place, we have what's called the pleasers. All they want to do is please you. They may not know how to work hard. They may not know how to grind or grit, but they just want to please you. They want to please their parents. They get good grades. They do right. And when things don't go well for them, or it really gets tough, they get depressed. There's anxiety. Anxiety. We had a kid on our football team, great kid, one of the hardest working guys we have, had seizures on the practice field because he was dropping the kickoff returns. He had seizures, not because he was an epileptic, because of anxiety and stress. And when you really dig deep to the root of each kid, each athlete, and you understand where they come from, and you start talking to them and communicating with them, and all of a sudden, they start coming around. But you better get a sports psychologist, I'm just telling you. They own the technology world. And if you don't own it, you better learn it. I had to learn it. I never took a computer class in my life. I started strength coach, there were no computers. Right, Yoxter? Jeff? There are no computers. Computer program, what's that? And then when online started about mid-90s, and it would take forever. So you didn't do it because you were pissed. You want to go, let's go. So you just wrote the work up on a board, you made a nice card, you went, and you trained them. Nowadays, I mean, wow. Own the technology world. So because they own the technology world, instant, boom, LOL, hi, what's up, what up, Twitter, what's all this? They demand instant results. So as you go through your conditioning cycle of 10 weeks, conditioning is awful. Anaerobic interval training is awful. Half-gassers, 110s, shuttle runs, whatever sport, suicide, it's awful. Why is it awful? Because you don't see those results, right? You don't see it. You crawl out of there, you're blown, you're dizzy. They don't like that. Weight training is a little different. They get those instant results. They get their squat, they get their lift, they a little bowed up, they got some vein, the whole deal. They look at themselves walking out of the weight room, through the mirror. They get instant results, so it's a little easier in the weight room. Conditioning is hard. You don't see those results sometimes till 3 months later. So they struggle with that. High on tolerance. They'll tolerate a lot of things. They'll tolerate their brother or their sister in their locker room getting in trouble, smoking dope, doing wrong, not being on time. They'll just tolerate it because it's their boy, right? That's my boy, man. It's not your boy. Lack absolute values. That's what this generation does. High performance now. They got it. They got the gear. I got one. Look, Nike Fuel Band. You got it. You got all that. But they're high maintenance. High maintenance. I tell our players, I get you. They look at me, like the little puppy. What are you talking about? I get you. I so happen to have children in your age group. My 2 kids are 19 and 20. So I get you. And they're like, yeah, you got your kid. Yeah, okay, you got your kid. You know how to use Twitter, coach? Yeah, sure. Connection. This is how you should connect with these young men and women. And when you understand this philosophy, it'll help you as a coach. Okay? You might have some Generation IY people on your staff. Okay? You got to coach them too. They want to belong before they believe. They want to just jump in. Oh, yeah, I'm with that group. That'd be great back in the peace times, back in the early 70s, right? Just jump in that group. Yeah, peace out. Yeah. They want a cause before they want a course. So they're fighting for a cause before they know what they're fighting for. And we all know this. They want to play before they pay, right? They just want to play. Well, I was recruited to play. I'm playing. You got to pay a price to play. You got to earn it. You got to earn respect. Okay? Connections of a coach to that athlete or that person. You have to be responsive. You have to respond to them. You got to respond to them on Twitter, online, texting, calling. You have to respond. You have to display acceptance to them. You have to have patience, which I'm not real good at that. You got to have patience. And you got to supply support to that athlete, to that generation. This is how you connect to them better. You got to be demanding, though. You still got to be demanding. You got to stick your size 12 where the sun doesn't shine. Establish high standards. Provide direction. And most importantly, just be real. These kids are very perceptive. They see behind the BS. They see if you're phony. They see if you say one thing but do another. They see how you treat this guy. They see how you treat that girl. They see everything. They see. They were put on this earth to see. They see everything. So you're not going to kid. You're not going to get anything over them. Never, ever. I still believe that they crave discipline. They crave accountability. And I believe they crave and need and want structure. They want it. They may complain about it. They may laugh about it. They may bitch about it. But deep down, that's what they want. Those kids that maybe didn't come from a family, these are the values of the family. These are the values of my family. Hopefully they're the values of your family. But some of these athletes, you know as well as I do, hadn't come from this. So you got to teach them. You have more of an impact on your student athletes than any other person in their lives, because you're around them more than anybody else. Coaches go on vacation. They go recruiting. Strength coaches don't go on vacation. They don't recruit. They kind of stay away from their academic people, so they avoid them as much as they can. But they know if they don't see the strength coach, they're going to get in trouble. There's a consequence. They probably don't like to go to the training room. But some do. We know that. Some do. But they love this. And you got to make sure you have it in your program. Next thing I'm going to talk about is the performance pathway. We had the opportunity about a year and a half ago to run into a gentleman that teaches corporate leadership. And I've been together with Coach Meyer for a long, long time. We believe in the same things. Same things. Our values, our goals, our objectives are exactly the same. We believe on how we should train them, how we should practice, how we should do things. And a lot of the things that we've done or have done or will do kind of all fit within this model. So as this guy came along, Tim Kite from Focus 3 Leadership, we're like, oh my God, this puts it on paper of what we've always done in our program, always, from our strength program to our football program. So it kind of hit us like, oh my God, this is awesome. What it says is, leaders create culture, okay? Culture drives the behavior. Behavior produces the results. So as you formulate your program, or in your program, you got to ask yourself, what's our culture? What are we about? What's the culture of our team? What's the culture of our football program, or our basketball program, or our softball program? Okay? What is the culture? What do we do? How do we act? How do we behave? Regardless of who your leaders are, they create that culture. From a coach to the program to the players on the team that are leaders that create that culture. That culture drives the behavior, right? Behavior will kind of reinforce that culture. That's why those arrows go around. It's called a flywheel. And as those things start happening and you start getting the behavior that you want because of the culture that was created by those leaders, you start getting the results that you want and need. You're going to get the results, not that you want, but that you lead. As a player, as an athlete, as a coach, that's what happens. So I guess the first thing before you start talking about leadership, back in the day, all leadership was a bunch of quotes, right? We all got them up in the weight rooms. We all sent them out on our sheets. Kids don't read those. Though 10% do. The self-motivator guys are taking notes and putting it in their iPad and tweeting it out. But those 80%, they're not really reading it. You know the 10% aren't. There are not. So you got to create that culture. If you want the results that you want, behavior and culture have to be intertwined. And all of a sudden, just like a snowball down the hill, it gets momentum. Creating a culture. Your strength program. You're the leader of that strength program. You're the leader of that program. You're the leader of your family. What do you want to be about? What do you want to be about? Hard work, testing results, whatever. I'm not here to tell you what's right, wrong, and different. A lot of different ways to skin a cat. What do you want to be about? Young strength coaches, as you're learning and visiting and clinicking and professionally developing, you're formulating your program when it's time, when you get the call. When you get your draft card, you get the job. You better have that plan already in your head of what you want to do and how you want to do it. But the first thing you do, you better want to make sure what your culture is about. When athletes come in your weight room, what's it about? What do they do? How do they act? Check. What's the culture of your strength staff? What's the culture in the weight room? What's the culture in the football program or the basketball program or the field hockey program? And sometimes we're handcuffed as strength coaches because if it's not starting from the top and you don't have that support, it's hard to do. But the one thing you can control is that weight room and what happens in that weight room. And don't you dare let any coach tell you what you're supposed to be doing in that weight room. I'm not saying they don't have input and you talk and you go back and forth about this, but when it comes in there, you coach those athletes the way they need to be coached. Okay? What is acceptable versus unacceptable in terms of culture? What does accountability mean to the culture? And what I'm going to do is give you a little kind of synopsis of what we do at The Ohio State. What we believe, the culture. How we behave is culture. And what we experience is culture. Just like the culture of this generation, or my generation, or your generation. That's what culture is. It's the only acceptable way to act or behave. That's our definition at The Ohio State football program. That's it. That's the culture that we always strive to have. Inside the weight room, this is our culture that we have developed over time, over years. Effort, number one. Effort is not a talent issue. It's not a genetic issue. It's pretty easy, man. Just do it. Effort. The athletes control the effort. Effort, man. It just takes effort. Toughness. Some people say you can't develop toughness in the weight room or in your program. I fully, wholeheartedly disagree. Yes, you can. They don't know how to work. They come from this generation. So again, we're talking about leadership. We're talking about the who. The who is the clientele. The clientele is Generation IY. They don't know. Accountability. Our culture is accountability. If someone's late, there's a consequence. Someone does wrong, there's a consequence. If there's no consequence, there's no accountability. If there's no consequence, there's no culture. Attitude. We believe in attitude. Having a great attitude, a big smile when you come in, because you can control that as an athlete. And also having, attitude, right? You guys remember, my generation here, if you remember Bugs Bunny, there was a dude called the Chicken Hawk. He was a badass, right? Remember the Chicken Hawk? He had attitude. So we want our athletes to have a little bit of attitude. And then obviously you got to have team chemistry. And I think you can build that in the weight room. I know you can. Culture, the how. How do you do it? Systematic approach to atypical methods. That's us. Culture development. We develop culture on a day-to-day basis. We create experiences in the weight room. We create experiences within our strength and conditioning program to help develop that culture. We provoke responses, which I'll talk about here in a minute. And then we cultivate leadership from that experience. That's our culture, the how. This next slide talks about what we call the R factor. Again, this is something we picked up from a corporate leadership guru, I guess is the word. And you kind of put this into everyday life. E plus R equals O. E is the event. The event happens every day, every minute, every second in your life, in your program, in your weight room. Plus the response, right? The response of what you respond to that event or your athletes respond equals the outcome. So what we try to do is create experiences for our young athletes, teach them how to respond, and then we'll get the outcome that we want. So in your lives, if something in your life happens that may not necessarily be good, it's how you respond to that will get the outcome that you want. And that's hard to do. And I'll show you how we do it. The R factor. We create events with hard training, confrontation, confusion, and chaos. Okay? Generation IY people, the 18-year-old peoples, they love to know what they're doing. They love to know, okay, we got this. Oh, okay. We got 6 half-gassers. We got whatever, 3 110s. Okay, good. And they're prepared for it. I don't like to tell them what we got because I want to create a little bit of confusion and chaos within that program to see how they respond. Because in the game of football or the game of whatever or the sport of whatever, you can't predict what's going to happen. The only thing you can predict is how they respond to that event. So we try to do that on a day-to-day basis. Day-to-day basis. We may completely change what we had planned. We train the athletes how to respond. That's what we do. How do you do that, coach? Hard training, mat drills, competition, metabolic finishers. We all love to do these things. Team format, accountability, confrontation, chaos, high energy, high demands. That's how you do it. Okay? That's how you do it. Types of responses. You got two types of responses in everyday life, in the world. You got what's called above the line, or you got what's called below the line. One is intentional, and one is impulsive, right? Something happens. Someone cuts you off on I-95 or I-10. There's a response from you, right? It could be back when I was 22 where you chase them down and you kind of, give them the finger and the whole deal, and that was a bad response. Or it could just be take a big, deep breath, pause. Okay, what could happen bad if I keep chasing this guy? Just back up, go a little slower, put on some nice light music, some talk radio. That was an intentional response based on the event that just happened to me. Okay? Our head coach tells our coaching staff, right? You're a corner. You get beat deep on a fade route, right? And there was contact, but there wasn't contact, and a flag goes. What's the first response of the defensive back? Anybody? First response? The hands, right? Bad response. Because they're coming right back at you. Because the flag's not going to be thrown, or it's going to be thrown, and it's going to be a touchdown. Or the DB coach during spring ball that's yapping at the referee that comes for volunteer work to get some extra work. They're yelling at him, and the next play already went, and the third play went. All of a sudden, touchdown, and bad response. That was an impulsive response. And when you train your athletes hard and you ask your demanding situations, there's going to be impulsive responses. You've got to teach them to be above the line in your responses. Above the line. Here's the intentional responses. They have a purpose. They have a plan. They're outcome-based. They're thinking about the outcome. Okay, man, I know why we're doing this. We're doing this to make us a little tougher and get our team together and be closer and build a team and go. Okay, relax, take a big, deep breath. All right, good. Get to the next rep, get to the next set, get to the next whatever. Or you got the below the line, react on emotion, autopilot, just those guys that cruise, man, right? Or that outcome is very important. They're selfish. They really don't care. They just want to get done running. They don't want to touch the line because they don't care. Because in that heat of the moment, you know how the mind plays those tricks. So again, you're trying to teach them how to do this. We try to manage our art. It's difficult to respond above the line. It's difficult. Why, coach? Because you got impulsive behavior, man. It's a fight or flight. Someone swings at you, what are you doing? You're swinging right back. It's hard to do. The event might just be too big, just too big. It's just too big. You might have been up by 6 points and you're getting ready to score and it was a fumble and they took it back 99 yards. That event's a large, big, giant thing. Sometimes you can't overcome it. Sometimes in your life, these are really, really hard to overcome, right? Especially in this business. Or old habits. Old habits are hard to break, man, hard to break. So it's going to take time, and you just got to keep chipping at the rock or keep pushing the ball up the hill. These are my favorite now. I got these from all the years and all the assistants that we've been around, and we all talk about this, right? So you have some sort of confrontation for the day. The number one you get is the eye roll, right? It's a good one, the eye roll, and you just want to punch him. The lip smack, right? Right, we all seen the lip smack. Right, the mumble. I love the mumble, especially when you're walking away and they're mumbling, and you hear them the whole time. The head drop. So the pleasers, they're disappointed, they're disgusted, right? Because of our surroundings and we're being professional. The F this S, right? They say it. The sulking. Some just aren't tough and just start sulking. Confrontation. So now you got some guys that want to fight back. Like as you confront them, they want to fight you now. So now you got a little situation. Okay, let's see. I got 6 kids. I could nail this guy and feel good about it. Or See, we got piano lessons, and I got braces. I'm just going to step back. All right, good. Whew. Right? Or the I don't like this. I don't like it. I don't like ball. I don't like sports. I don't like competition. I don't like this. I don't like you, coach. Good. I don't like you either. Okay, response, competitive training. I believe that you'll be able to elicit a response and teach them how to respond from a competitive situation. Through competitive training, we teach them how to respond. Okay, and competitive training, events that develop the R. Great team builder, right? Win or loser, being competitive. Develop leadership skills. And because of the generation, again, I keep going back to the who. The who is they want instant results. I beat you, you lost. They want instant results. So, again, you kind of got to respond to them, right? You kind of got to respond to when you're trying to get across. Develop leadership skills within competition. You lose, how do you react, right? Sometimes when an assistant may call, we do agility drills and everything's win or loser. You're always going win or loser. So maybe the guy actually won, but you called out the wrong name by mistake, but you can't renege what you just said, so you just kind of go with it. And then all of a sudden the guy knows he won. He's fighting back at you. Bad response, right? Bad response. So you're teaching some of those athletes how to do that. My favorite, you uncover the player's GSF, the GIVA, S-H-I-T, factor, right? You uncover it quick because you get them in those vulnerable situations. Improve as a teammate. Teaches players how to strain, accountability, maximize your genetic potential by competing because they're going hard, right? You have a potential of 100%. 100%. If you're competing, you're as close to 100% as possible. I always ask our guys, when do you run the fastest, ever? When do you run? When you blow the whistle. No, you run the fastest when you're competing against someone. When you're in a track meet, that's when you go your hardest. So we try to create those situations. It reinforces the culture. Generation of instant results, like I said, and it's fun. So we use competitive situations to help us deal with this. I don't know if you can see this. I don't know if it's on there or not. This is kind of how we set it up. The point system. The day before, Marotti versus Yaxel, and it's every drill. There's a winner loser. There's penalties. If you knock a cone down, there's consequence. Because we're trying to see how they respond to all this. Plus, we're trying to get them to work hard. And at the end of the day, Marotti 17, Yaxel 3 in the agility workout. That's how it is. You shouldn't have sat there. And we got points, and they see it. They get instant results. So you're kind of responding to the generation of instant results. Yeah, okay, I won. Great. Yeah, I did it for the team. Yeah, and then there's a little bit of fun. There's talking back and forth in the locker room and all that stuff. So we try to put them in these situations as best we can. Here's our consequences in our off season. I like to put them in those situations because there's a winner and a loser. The generation that these kids grew up in, again, think back at guys that have kids this age. They go to soccer. Your child, my child, is an awful soccer player. At the end of the 8-week YMCA soccer league, they get a certificate or a trophy. They did nothing. They didn't win. The team lost. They were horrible, but we gave them a trophy. So we, as a society, have enabled our generation IY. Don't blame them, blame ourselves, right? When I was a kid, and you play Little League, you win, you lose. If you lose, you go back and try to win. When there was a basketball game, because we used to play outside, now they don't play outside, you used to go down to the Highland Elementary School, and you play basketball. And there's 45 people, and you sit by the pole waiting for your team to get up. And if you win, you stay on a court and play. If you lose, you go home. So you do everything in your power to get better so you could stay on there. That was the status back then. Now we just give people stuff for participating. Even the way we do our letterman, think back, Coach Galt, back in the day, you had to play 65% of the games, 65% of snaps, and you get a letter. Now, if you ran out there 3 times, we're giving them a letter. So we're our own enemy. Thrill of victory, agony of defeat. People need to feel that. ABC, Y World of Sports, back in the day, right? The guy going down a ski jump, wipes out the thrill of victory, agony of defeat. They need to feel that. They need to feel that in the offseason. So there's no confusion during the season. There's no chucking of the helmets when things don't go good. You kind of know what's going to happen. You know already. You know already. You know. Coaches know. So guys that win, they get new gear. Guys that lose sometimes there's consequence. They got to run a little bit more. There's rewards, there's extra work, there's improvement, there's loaves, there's penalties. All these things help us to respond. Motivation. Two types of motivation. Extrinsic and intrinsic. Extrinsic's the external. You win this race, you get a Gatorade. You win this race, you get a t-shirt, right? That motivates guys. It just does. Operating from the outside, it's not sustainable. It doesn't have purpose, doesn't have meaning. It's not gonna last. Sometimes people do things because they don't want to do the consequence. But that's really not what's burning in their heart and in their soul. The intrinsic is internal. It's contained entirely from within. It's what they dream about before they go to bed. It's what they dream about as they're driving or walking to your facility. What's going to happen? What am I going to do today? It'll always outperform the extrinsic motivators. Always. Always. Unfortunately, in this society, money is a motivator for football players that trying to get to the NFL. It's a motivator. The ones that play in the NFL, it's a motivator. It should be a motivator for everybody in this room, right? Because you got braces, you got things you got to take care of. Research confirms the level of motivation proves to be the most significant component of predicting success. So you got to work with that intrinsic stuff, and you got to help develop that. I think players are motivated by three things: playing time or money. Unfortunately, we don't determine playing time unless you're coaching a sport. Peer pressure. Peer pressure. That locker room lawyer, bring that guy with you. And fear of failure. I think those are the three things that these kids are motivated by. Pays to be a winner, winner losers, Gatorade, water, extra conditioning, eat first, up downs, grass drills. Those are motivators. I'm going to win, I'm going to run hard so I don't have to do up downs. That's great. But you got to teach them a purpose. You got to teach them what it's all about. And that's what takes time sometimes. Okay? Intrinsic motivators. Emotion, must feel something. Purpose, you must bought into the why. So what we did this spring, instead of saying, don't smoke dope, right? Hydrate, eat right. Again, Generation IY, they want to know why. WHY, they want to know why. Coach, why shouldn't I smoke marijuana? Why shouldn't I drink? Why should I hydrate? I don't want to hydrate. Why should I? So what we did is we had seminars of the why. So I taught the players why we do things. Sometimes in our world, we're not worried. We just go, do this, and we don't teach them the why. If you think back to the unwritten laws or the unwritten what of being a strength coach, it says what? You're an educator. So you got to educate them. So we educated them on the why, and they understand. Why are we doing? Back in the, you just do it, and you did it. They got to know why. People are motivators. Energy, encouragement, fellowship. Those things should happen, and those things should be provided by the mentor, by the strength coach, by the leader. Progress, small wins, minor accomplishments. So you've got to do a great job of hugging them up. Hey, man, great job. You did an unbelievable job today. And again, think of the generation, think we were talking about. Back in the day, you didn't have to do that. Great job, everybody. And you just go on. Now you got to grab a guy, grab a gal. Hey, nice job. Keep going. You did a great job. Just get it better. Give me 1 more inch when you're running to the ball. And all of a sudden, after 10 days, you got 10 inches, 2 more inches, that's a foot. Man, you're getting there. You're going hard. And you just got to pump them up and just keep them going. Small victories. Combination, unique composite of all the above. So once your athletes, once your staffs, once you get these intrinsic motivators, what's motivating you, what's inspiring you, I think you're on the right direction, on the right deal. Motivators, intrinsic motivators, combination of the purpose, the people, and the progress to motivate. This is culture. That's culture, right? It's how we act, how we behave, what we believe, what we experience. Team of people whose efforts are driven by a shared commitment to a common purpose. It energizes, encourages each other. They keep the purpose and vision clearly in sight, and they celebrate their team progress and achievements along the way. That's the ultimate goal of leadership. That's the ultimate goal of motivation. That's the ultimate goal of team building. Any questions? I've got about a 3-minute video. You got to show a video, right? Got a 3-minute video. I appreciate your attentiveness. This is a little different subject that strength coaches are used to talking about. I apologize to the young strength coaches and the young professionals that wanted to hear what we do on Tuesday, June 3rd. I apologize to you. It's not about that. It's not about what you do. It's not about what you do. It's not. There's so many different ways to do it. Let's get them better. It's how you do things. It's how you develop them. Spend your time developing your athletes. Spend your time, directors, developing your staff. As again, being in this profession as long as we have, I'm amazed by the great coaches that develop their staffs. You're only as good as your staff. You can't do it by yourself. If you have all these issues now with this generation we're dealing with, how are you going to do it by yourself? You can't. So you have to teach your staff, you have to teach your people how to do it so they can make an impact on our young athletes. Because don't forget now, it's not about your workout, it's not about you, it's about the program. And when I look to hire people, okay, so for young strength coaches, when I look to hire people, I don't care how much you bench press. I don't care how big in stature you are. I don't care. What I care about is, are you willing to give everything that you have to our program? Are you willing to stand outside a meeting room and give them water to hydrate them? Are you too cool for school? Are you willing to do that little extra? Are you willing to maybe grab a guy that's struggling in class and try to help him? Are you willing to call them up on the phone and communicate, not texting? That's what I look for in our staff. That's just what it is, because that's what it's about. Everybody's got great programs. Everybody. It's awesome. Great. I do this. I do that. I do bands. I do chains. Great. Awesome. Go Bucks. All our Buckeyes. Go. Great. But it's not about that. And I think, again, this is a message to you young strength coaches. It's not about that. It's not about what you do. It's how you do it. All these coaches that have been around the business, that have made it through the duration of time and gotten hit and gotten back up, it's because of their character. It's because of their connection with their players. It's because they do things to help that athlete, not what they do. It's not the 5x5 routine. It's not the 4-day split, 3-day split. It's not the this, that. I don't use a sled. I use tires. I use this. They're going to get better. You're going to progress them. You've been trained to do that. Now are you willing to do the little extra? Are you willing to do a little extra? Do a little, last couple things. We ask our players, would the coach hire you? Every player. Would I hire you? Would I hire you? Yes, yes, yes. No. Absolutely not. No way in hell. Yes, yes, maybe. Okay, and we tell them, right? We have a transparent program. We tell them exactly. So if someone's doing wrong, everybody knows they're doing wrong. The guy cleaning the restrooms knows, and we'll tell them, hey, this guy's doing bad. Stay away, bad guy. Or great job. It's a transparent program. So we let everybody know. So there's no secrets. But again, I appreciate you guys listening up here. And if you got any questions, I'm leaving later today, but my assistants will be here. And anytime you want to come visit, please come. I appreciate all those coaches out there that let me come and visit your facilities. I would recommend that to all the strength coaches in here, the younger group, to go out and visit. It's not about the next job. It's not about the check on Football Scoop to see how much money this person's making. Not about this. It's not about all that. And when you realize that, you'll be a better coach. It's not about what you make. It's not about it's not about that. It's about developing relationships within your program and also within the profession. And our profession's going in the right direction. This certification now that is mandated by the NCAA is the best thing that ever happened. So you need to make sure your friends out there that aren't certified need to get certified, or there's going to be some issues. Thank you. I got this little video here, and enjoy the rest of the conference.